My brother used my wedding fund to buy his girlfriend an engagement ring. You're not even dating anyone. He laughed. Mom agreed. When you find someone, we'll help. I smiled and congratulated them. 6 months later, I eloped in Bali. When I posted photos of our $290,000 villa reception, my phone exploded. 118 missed calls. My name is Dean. I'm 34. I own a small but growing chain of grocery stores. 6 locations now, all within a couple hours of each other. I'm the steady one in my family. You know the type. If the car breaks, I'm the call. If the rent is late, I'm the call. If someone just needs a little help until Friday, it's my problem. My younger brother Kyle is the opposite. He's funny, loud, always has a new plan, always has a new girlfriend, always has a new emergency. My mom calls him spirited. I call him expensive. That Sunday, I walked into my parents' house with a store-brand pie in one hand and my phone still buzzing in my pocket from work. Someone had texted me a photo of a pallet stacked wrong in store number 3. Great. My mom was already in hostess mode. Candles lit, fancy plates out. Her company voice turned on. Dean, there you are, she said like I was late to my own performance. Shoes off. We're about to eat. Kay was on the couch scrolling, smiling at his phone like it owed him money. Dad sat in his usual spot, watching sports at a volume that made the windows vibrate. Kay looked up and grinned. Hey big man, he said. How's life as the town's most boring millionaire? I laughed because that's what I do. I keep it light. I keep it moving. Still breathing, I said. That's my hobby. We sat down at the table. My mom brought out roast chicken like we weren't 2 seconds away from an announcement. Kyle cleared his throat dramatically, tapping his glass with a fork. Okay, he said. Okay, listen up for a second. My mom's face lit up like someone flipped a switch. Dad muted the TV. Kyle stood up, took his phone out, and held it up like he was about to read a speech. I'm getting married. Mom actually gasped. Dad did the proud nod thing. Kyle turned his phone around and showed a photo of a ring on a woman's hand. Big rock, bright lighting, perfect angle. Her name is Tessa. Kyle said like he'd discovered her. And she said, yes. Mom clapped her hands. Oh my God, Kyle. Dad grunted. Good for you, son. I smiled. I did. Automatic, like muscle memory. Congrats, I said. Seriously. Kyle sat back down, pleased with himself, soaking it up. Then he looked straight at me, and his grin got sharper. You know what's funny, he said. I felt my stomach tighten, because when Kyle says funny, it's usually aimed at me. He nodded toward the ring photo again. This cost more than your entire dating history. Mom laughed too fast. I blinked. What? Kyle leaned back, enjoying the attention. I'm just saying, he continued. You've been talking about someday forever, but you're not even dating anyone. So, what are you saving for exactly? There it was. That old family script. Dean works. Dean saves. Dean waits. Dean doesn't get a life until everyone else is done spending his. I kept my voice calm. I'm happy for you, Kyle. Kyle smirked. Yeah, you should be. Someone in this family has to live a little. Mom chimed in immediately like she couldn't stand any silence that didn't worship him. Your brother is starting a family, she said, gently scolding me like I was the immature one. It's different. I stared at my plate. Kyle pointed his fork at me. Come on, Dean. Don't do that sad face thing. You're fine. I'm not doing anything, I said. Mom reached across the table and patted Kyle's hand. It's okay, she told him like I was the problem. Dean will understand. When he finds someone, we'll help, right, honey? Dad nodded without looking up from his food. Sure, I felt heat climb my neck. Not because I needed their help, but because they said it like I was a kid waiting for an allowance. Like my future only counted if they approved the timing. Kyle laughed, actually laughed, and said, yeah, when you find someone, if you find someone. I swallowed it. I smiled. Congrats, I said again. Seriously, that ring is huge. Kyle's grin widened. Right, I didn't cheap out. Mom beamed at him like he'd cured a disease. And I sat there smiling like a good sport while something inside me quietly started doing math. Not money math, family math. The kind where you finally realize you've been the extra wallet at the table this whole time. Here's the part one usually skip when I tell stories because it makes me sound like I'm trying to win sympathy. But you need to understand the dynamic. I built my business from nothing. I worked in a grocery store in high school, stocking shelves at 5 a.m. before class, bagging groceries on weekends. I liked it. It was simple. It made sense. Work hard, get paid, go home. I saved every check. Kay didn't. Kay was always between jobs. Always about to start something big. Always just needs a little boost. And my parents treated Ka like a project, a lovable disaster they had to protect from consequences. Meanwhile, I was the stable one, so I got less attention, fewer celebrations, and more responsibility. When I opened my first store, my mom told me she was proud of me. Then she asked if I could cover Kyle's car payment that month. I did it. When I opened my second store, my dad shook my hand and said, "Not bad." Then Kyle called me the next day, saying he'd invested his savings into some friend's app idea and needed rent money. I did it. It got to the point where my help wasn't a favor anymore. It was assumed like gravity. So, a few years ago, I started a separate savings account, my wedding fund. Not because I had someone, not because I had a ring, just because I wanted the option. I wanted to stand in a nice place one day, look at a person I loved, and not have to count pennies while my family made jokes. I'm not flashy. I don't buy watches. I don't drive anything exotic. My nice thing was security. I put money into that account every month. Sometimes more when business was good. And yes, this is where I was stupid. My mom was listed on the account, not as an owner, as a beneficiary and authorized person in case something happened to me. Why? Because when I opened stores, I dealt with leases and insurance and paperwork and a million moving parts. My mom offered to help keep things organized. And because I'm a fool, part of me still wanted her involved. Still wanted that feeling of being a team. She'd say stuff like, "It's good to have family oversight, Dean. You work too much. What if you get sick? What if something happens?" So, I let it happen. It was convenient. It felt responsible, and honestly, I thought the money was safe because the account wasn't for anyone but me. Also, I wasn't single. I just wasn't advertising it. I met Maya at one of my stores. She was standing in the aisle comparing two kinds of rice like it was a life or death decision. I made a dumb joke. She laughed. We kept talking. Maya didn't care that I owned the store. She didn't ask for freebies. She didn't act impressed. She asked me what I did for fun. I almost didn't know how to answer. We took it slow. Quiet dinners, late-night walks after I closed up store paperwork. She'd sit in my office while I answered emails, just existing beside me like it wasn't a burden. I didn't tell my family about her at first. Partly because I wanted something for myself that they couldn't touch, and partly because I knew what would happen. Kay would make jokes. Mom would start helping. Suddenly, my private relationship would become family content. So, I kept it quiet. Then, Kyle announced his engagement, and I sat there hearing, "You're not even dating anyone." Like, my life was a joke to fill space between Kyle's milestones. A few days later, my mom called. Not about my stores. Not about my health, about Kyle. "Dean," she said, voice soft and sweet. "Kyle is just so happy." "That's good," I said, already bracing. There was a pause. The kind of pause that means money is coming. The ring was well, she continued. It was more than he expected. I didn't answer. She rushed on. "He's going to pay it off." Of course, but weddings are expensive, and I want him to start off right. I stared at my computer screen. Inventory, numbers blurred. "What are you asking?" I said, "Mom did that thing where she acts offended, that I made her say it out loud." "I'm not asking," she insisted. "I'm just saying you have that savings account, the one for your future." My grip tightened on the phone, "The wedding fund." I said. "Yes," she said quickly. "And you're not using it right now, cues. And it's family." I felt my stomach drop. "Mom," I said slowly, "that's not family money. That's mine." She sighed like I was being dramatic. "Dean, don't be selfish," she said. "It's not like you're getting married tomorrow." I almost laughed, because the truth was I was closer than she knew. Maya and I had been talking about it. Not someday. Real plans, real timelines. I didn't tell my mom that. I just said, no, silence. Then Mom's voice went colder. So, you're going to punish your brother for finding love? She asked. Punish. I repeated. I'm not punishing anyone. I'm protecting my money. Mom snapped. You always do this. You act like you're the only one who works. I felt something ugly rise in my chest. I am the only one who works consistently, I said. She gasped. How dare you? And then she hit me with the line that always worked when I was younger. I thought you cared about this family. I didn't respond because I did care. That was the problem. I cared so much. I kept letting them rewrite the rules. That night, I checked my banking app. The wedding fund was still there. Balance looked normal. No weird transactions. So I told myself maybe Mom was just fishing. Maybe she'd drop it. A week passed. Then, too, Kyle started texting me more than usual, which is always a red flag. Yo, bro, you free? Need quick opinion. Call me when you can. I ignored it. Then I got a notification while I was walking a store aisle checking in caps. Withdrawal pending. I stopped in front of the cereal, like my legs forgot how to work. I opened the app. There it was. A large cashier's check request. Payable to a jewelry store in the next city over. The amount made my throat go dry. I stood there staring at my screen while a woman next to me reached for a box of granola and glanced at me like I was having a personal crisis. I called my mom immediately. She picked up on the first ring like she'd been holding her phone waiting. Hi, honey, she said brightly. My voice came out low and flat. Did you touch my account? There was a beat of silence. Then she said too casually, Dean, don't make this ugly. And in that moment, I knew it wasn't a misunderstanding. It wasn't an accident. They did it. They were doing it. And they expected me to sit there smiling while they spent my future. I drove straight to my parents' house. No call, no warning. Just showed up. Kyle's car was in the driveway. Of course it was. I walked in and didn't even take my shoes off. Mom was in the kitchen, calm as ever, like she hadn't just took money without my okay. Kyle was at the table, scrolling his phone, grinning. He looked up and said, "Oh, someone's mad." I held my phone up, screen facing them. "Explain this," I said. Mom didn't even pretend. She crossed her arms. Kyle needed it. Kyle laughed like I'd asked something hilarious. "Dude," he said, "relax. It's an investment. I'm marrying Tessa. It's serious." I stared at him. "You used my wedding fund to buy your girlfriend a ring." Kyle shrugged. "Fiancé." Mom stepped in voice sharp. "Stop saying your wedding fund like you're a victim." She snapped. "You're not even dating anyone." I felt my jaw clench. Colleen back smug. "Yeah," he said. "You're not even dating anyone. So what? You were saving it for your spreadsheets." I could hear my heartbeat in my ears. I spoke slowly, because if I didn't, I'd explode. "I am dating someone," I said. Mom blinked. Kyle's grin slipped for half a second. Then Kyle recovered and laughed even louder. "Sure you are," he said. "What is she, Canadian?" Mom waved her hand dismissively. "Even if you are, when you find someone real will help." Like I said, that line again, like I was a kid waiting to be chosen. I pulled up the transaction details and read them out loud. Cashier's check payable to Lux Jewelers. Amount $48,900. Mom's face tightened, like she didn't like hearing the number said out loud. Kyle whistled. "Yeah, nice, right?" I looked at him. "Do you understand that wasn't authorized?" Mom snapped. "Don't you dare use that word in my house." Kyle laughed. "Bro, you're being dramatic." I took a breath. "Okay," I said. "Here's what's going to happen." Kyle rolled his eyes. "Oh, here comes the CEO's speech." I didn't look at him. I looked at my mom. "You're removed from every account," I said. Today, Mom's face went stiff. "Dean, also," I continued, "I'm done funding Kyle's life." Kyle sat up. "Wait, what?" "No more car payments," I said. "No more quick loans. No more emergency rent, nothing." Kyle's voice jumped. "Dude, what is going on?" "Over a ring." "Over you stealing from me," I said. Mom stepped toward me, eyes flashing. "You are so ungrateful," she hissed. After everything we've done for you, I almost laughed, but it came out bitter. What have you done for me? I asked. Dad walked in from the living room, drawn by the volume. What's going on? He asked, annoyed. Mom immediately pointed at me like I was the intruder. Dean is attacking your brother, she said. Cole jumped in fast. He's freaking out because we used some of his savings. Dad frowned at me. Dean, is that true? I held my phone up again. They took $48,000. I said, from my account. Dad's eyes widened slightly. Not at the theft, at the amount. He looked at Mom. Linda. Mom's face hardened. It was for Kyle's future. I stared at all of them. This was the moment. The exact moment. The part of me that kept hoping they'd finally choose me as a son, not a resource. That part died. I said quietly, you can pay it back. Kyle laughed. With what? Not my problem, I said. Kay scoffed. Wow, so you're really doing this? Mom stepped closer, voice low and venomous. You think you're better than us because you have money, she said. I met her eyes. No, I think I deserve basic respect. She snapped. Respect is earned. Kyle smirked again. And you haven't earned a wife, apparently. That was it. Something in me went calm. Not numb. Not weak. Calm. I nodded once. Cool, I said. Enjoy the ring, because that's the last thing you're getting from me. Mom grabbed my arm. Nails digging in. Dean, don't you walk out, she said. Don't punish the family. I pulled my arm away. I'm not punishing anyone, I said. I'm finally reacting appropriately. Kyle threw his hands up. Oh my God, you're such a baby. I turned back at the door. One more thing, I said. They all looked at me. If I see one more withdrawal, I said, I file a police report. I don't care if it's my own mother. I don't care if it makes you look bad. I'm done. Mom's mouth opened like she couldn't believe I said it. Dad stared at me like he didn't recognize me. Kay just scoffed. Fine, he said. Go be lonely. We'll have fun without you. I nodded. Good, I said. Have fun. And I walked out. I expected to feel guilty. That's my default setting with them. But what I actually felt was air. Like I've been holding my breath for years and didn't realize it. That night, I went to Maya's place. She opened the door, took one look at my face, and didn't ask dumb questions. She just said, talk to me. So I did. I told her everything. The account, the ring, the laughing. They will help when you find someone. Maya listened quiet, eyes steady. When I finished, she said, they don't see you. They see a piggy bank. I swallowed. Yeah. Then she asked, do you still want a wedding? I hesitated. Not because I didn't want to marry her, because the word wedding felt contaminated. Like it came with my family's fingerprints all over it. I want you, I said. I want a life. I don't want a circus. Maya nodded slowly, like she'd been waiting for me to say it. Then don't give them a circus, she said. Give yourself peace. A week later, I sat with my bank manager and cleaned up my accounts like a grown man should have done years ago. New passwords, new authorizations, two-factor on everything. My mom removed from every access point. I also sat with a lawyer not to sue my mom. I knew that would turn into a soap opera. And honestly, I didn't want them in my life at all, even through court. I wanted distance. The lawyer said something that stuck with me. You can't control what family does. He said, you can only control what you allow. So, I controlled what I allowed. I stopped paying Kyle's bills. And wouldn't you know it, suddenly, I was getting texts from Kyle. Bro, I'm stressed. Can we talk for Mom? I can't believe you do this to your brother. From Dad, call your mother. She's upset. I didn't respond. My silence was my boundary. Meanwhile, Kyle's engagement turned into a fundraising campaign. They started planning a wedding they couldn't afford. And I heard about it through extended family because my mom couldn't keep her mouth shut. She says, Kyle deserves a big day. My aunt told me quietly. She says, you're being harsh. Harsh? Because I stopped letting them spend my money. Around that time, Maya and I made a decision. We were going to get married, but we were going to do it our way. No family votes, no family guilt, no family speeches about how they always knew we'd get here. Maya had always wanted to go to Bali. I had always wanted a break where my phone didn't ring every 8 seconds. So we planned it. Not in a dramatic, revenge way, in a quiet, deliberate way. We invited a small group. My best friend from college, 2 close friends from work, Maya's sister, and her husband, and one couple we were close with. That's it. We booked a villa that made me feel like I was hallucinating when I saw the photos. Private staff, ocean view, long pool, open-air dining area. The kind of place you see on social media and assume it's fake. And yes, it cost a lot. $290,000 for the full package. The villa buyout, staff, private chef dinners, ceremony setup, reception night, security, transport, everything. Before anyone jumps me, my business is doing well. This wasn't debt. This wasn't draining my stores. This was money I could spend without hurting anyone. And here's the important part. It was money I could spend because I stopped funding Kyle's chaos. We eloped. No drama. Just Maya walking toward me barefoot on warm stone, hair pinned back, smiling like she knew a secret. I cried. I'm not ashamed. I cried. Afterward, we had dinner under lights that looked like stars. Our friends laughed. Someone gave a toast that made Maya's sister cry. It was calm. It was ours. And for once, I didn't feel like I needed to brace for someone to ruin it. When we posted photos a few days later, I didn't think much of it. Just a simple caption. Surprise. We got married. I put my phone down and went back to the pool. When I picked it up an hour later, my lock screen looked insane. 118 missed calls. Texts stacked on texts, voicemails, my mom, my dad, Kyle, unknown numbers, my aunt, a cousin I hadn't spoken to in years. I scrolled through the notifications like I was watching a storm approach. Mom's texts were first. Dean, pick up. What is this? You did this on purpose. Call me now. Kyle's texts were next. Bro, are you serious? You got married in Bali, and you couldn't help me with my wedding. Then my dad, your mother is crying. Call. I stared at the screen, and I felt something I didn't expect. Not satisfaction, just confirmation. They didn't call because they were happy. They called because they felt denied access to the event, to the money, to the image. Maya walked over and saw my face. Your family? She asked. I nodded. She took my phone gently, looked at the missed calls, and handed it back. Do you want to answer? She asked. I thought about my mom's laugh at that dinner table. You're not even dating anyone. When you find someone, we'll help. Kyle's grin. My money turned into his ring. And I thought about the villa behind us. The ocean. Maya's hand in mine. I exhaled. No, I said. Not right now. We went to dinner, and while we were eating, my phone kept buzzing like a trapped insect. Finally, I stepped away and listened to one voicemail. Mom's voice was furious. How could you do this to us? People are asking why we weren't there. Your brother is devastated. You spent that kind of money on a vacation, wedding, and you couldn't even support your own family. I deleted it halfway through. Then I typed one message in the family group chat. Short, clean. Hi. Yes, I got married. No, it wasn't last minute. I chose not to include anyone who thought stealing from me was acceptable. Please do not contact Maya. If you want to talk, you can email me. I'm blocking calls for now. Then I blocked numbers. Not forever, just enough to breathe. Over the next few months, I heard what happened without even trying. Kyle and Tessa fought constantly because the big wedding wasn't happening anymore. My mom tried to pressure relatives into contributing and got shut down. Dad got quieter because he always gets quieter when mom's plans don't work. And me, I went back home, back to my stores, back to normal life with one major difference. My money stayed mine. My marriage stayed protected. My peace stayed intact. A few weeks after we got back, my mom emailed me. Not apologized. Emailed like HR. Dean, your father and I are disappointed. We did not raise you to abandon family. Kay made a mistake, but you overreacted. You humiliated us by excluding us from your wedding. We deserve to meet Maya properly, and we deserve to be part of your life. I read twice. Then I showed Maya. She didn't even look surprised. She just said, they still think you owe them. And she was right. So I wrote back one email. Short, Mom, you raised me to work hard and be responsible. I did that. Kyle stole from me. You helped him. That's not a mistake. That's a choice. I didn't exclude you to punish you. I excluded you to protect my marriage and my peace. You are not entitled to my life. If you want a relationship with me, it starts with repayment and a real apology, not demands, not guilt. Dean, I hit send and felt my shoulders drop like I've been carrying bricks. They didn't repay me. They didn't apologize. Kyle sent one last text from a new number, because of course he did. Hope the villa was worth losing your family. I stared at it for a long time. Then I replied with the truth. It was worth gaining my life, and I blocked that. Number 2, here's the moral. Since people always want a clean takeaway, if someone only loves you when you're funding them, they don't love you. They love access. And family will call you selfish the moment you stop being useful. I didn't get revenge by posting fancy photos. I didn't elope to hurt them. I eloped because I finally understood something simple. I don't need permission to live. I don't need approval to love someone. And I don't need to finance my brother's fantasy so my parents can play proud. My boundary now is clear. If you laughed at me while you took from me, you don't get a front row seat when I build something beautiful. You don't get to steal my future and then act shocked when I stop handing you keys.